Awesome. Okay. Nice to meet you, Andy. Tell
Nice to
me,
meet
I really like that there are some gay characters in the show. Can you tell me about the creation of those characters, how those came about?
you. I don't know. It's inspired by just my people in my life, I guess, and then also there's like the idea of like just vacation friends too that you meet on vacation. And yeah, it was just they were always characters that were kind of just in the story that I wanted to just we're showing different types of relationships basically. That's like from the get-go. Yes, it's a mystery story, but like we're also looking at relationships of all types, from that first love to the Teds who are they're celebrating 21 years here, and to Sam's parents. And I thought that they should therefore like we got to represent everything. And then when I first met with when Ben Sinclair and I first met with Michael Hitchcock, who is just like I've been a big fan of since Guffman and on, and he's just one of the kindest people I have ever met. And then talking to him about his relationships, and that was one of the important parts of the show. Is like I never want anyone to feel like anything that's in the script that if they didn't believe it, if they felt anything was inauthentic, then like we just don't say it. Like let's bring in our own lives. And I think that's what like some of those conversations with Michael kind of turned into as well, like bringing in his own relationships in, because it's I have not had a relationship like that. So.
Mhm. So I went to Western Kentucky University, and that's where Becky Ann and Dylan are from. They came out like she came back and did little Best Little Whorehouse in Texas with us as students, and she's actually related to one of my theater friends. How did they get involved with the show? Like, I love to see them in anything.
Yeah, I mean, they're the best. That was a suggestion from Ben. We wanted like the early versions of the show from many years ago. Like the three first characters that I kind of created for this were Sam, Jan, and Carl. And it's like these parents that are, like inspired by. They're not. I know my parents will probably read this and they're thinking, "Oh, that's about us," but it's inspired by like kind of parents that I like, but also feel like they feel real and of the time too. And then it was a suggestion from Ben Sinclair. Like he had met, I think he'd worked with Becky a long time ago, like one of the first things he did, and just wanted to work with her again. And like you have these two, like it made sense to just cast them together because they don't always get cast as a married couple, and might as well like those two parts should feel like so lived in. And so like why not just cast a real married couple that they can bring in that lived in experience, but also people who totally understand and have a grasp of like the kind of fine tonal balance we're trying out with this show, where we can go from like silly to sincere, and you look at everything they've been in, and you just they kind of speaks for themselves. The roles kind of speak for themselves, and their performances speak for themselves. So yeah.
Okay, we have about a minute left. Can you just what would you want to tell people about the show to get them hooked and get them interested with so much content out in the world?
Yeah, I'd say I am a person who I have two kids, and I have maybe a half hour before I fall asleep after we put the kids to bed to like watch something and like have a glass of wine or a bowl of ice cream and just sit on the couch and just be entertained with my wife. And all I want to do is just I want to be entertained in that half hour, and I want to feel like I'm in good hands, and that I cannot predict what's going to happen next, but I want to try to predict what's going to happen next and then be proven totally wrong. That's always an exciting thing for me as a viewer. And so I think that this show is made for both people who are like my present day self, who just wants to be entertained and is tired, while also my younger self, when I was in my 20s, I would watch an episode of Mad Men, and then I would go read Matt Zoller-Seitz like write up that night on Vulture about like the breaking down the symbols and whatnot that are in each episode. So like you can kind of like see there's some workings underneath the surface going on. So if you want to lean in and like try to solve the mystery part of it, or think you're on the right track, like there's plenty throughout this that's layered in there for that type of person who I once was, and now I've lost that spark. But there's also plenty for the person that's like me, who just needs to stay awake an extra half hour. Yeah, that's
Well, I was awake the whole time, and I look forward to seeing the rest of it. Thank you for your time today, Andy. I appreciate
cool.
it.
Thank you so much, Jerry.
Okay. All right. Bye.